It's easy building a Chinese carbon road bike, right? You just go online, have a quick Google, press buy now on a few components, use one Allen key to assemble the whole bike, and the job's a good un. That's exactly what Gordon, my long lost brother, thought when he set out on his journey back in May to build his first road bike from the ground up. Since that day when he purchased the glistening Els Falaf Pro 2022 frame, he has learned a thing or two, or three, or four. We are going to look at what went well for Gordon and what he could have done better. There are two main areas that need to be considered: buying all the parts and planning the build, and then the actual build itself.
Interesting.
The first thing to consider is the cost. Gordon did plant a money tree, but is currently failing to make it rain, which means the cost needs to be considered. We don't have endless cash available. Now, even if AliExpress is considered cheap Chinese carbon or cheap components, it's still going to cost, and it still can get pretty expensive pretty quick. Your wallet's going to take a hit. The main components are what will make the biggest difference: the frame and the wheels. Now, you could spend 2,000 on the frame and wheels, or you could spend under 1,000 combined. Either way, go and count all your pennies in your piggy bank and see how much you have. Here is how much Gordon's bike cost, a complete breakdown, which gives you a good indication of the price. Now, the main savings on Gordon's build was a second-hand wheels from eBay, which came with the rotors and the cassette, and they were around $210. You can actually pay the same, if not more, for the wheels compared to the frame if you want an all singing, all dancing, deep section carbon set. Obviously for the speed, nothing to do with the looks. How to find the correct frame size. Now, this is honestly one of the most common questions people seem to have, especially Gordon. Now, because sizing is all over the place, it's like shoe sizes for different brands. In one you're a size 10, in the other you're a size 5. Firstly, frames from Asia tend to be smaller. For example, Gordon's Els Falaf Pro 2022 was a size 52, which was a large. Comparatively, his Giant Defy Advance 1 is a size 52, and that's a medium. Now, if you are the same height as a small giraffe, you may be out of luck because many Chinese carbon frame manufacturers simply don't go up to the daddy long leg sizes. Something to consider. Now, here is the process that Gordon took to give you a bit of insight to how he came to the conclusion a 52 frame was correct for him. Firstly, he already has a road bike, so he can compare the Chinese carbon frame geometry to that road bike. He has also had a bike fit on his current bike, which provided him with specific measurements to get the perfect bike fit for his body. Now, with that information, he used the website bikeinsights.com to compare different frames to see what size will be best for him. You can overlay two bikes, which gives you a clear indication if the bike is going to work or not.
How wonderful.
Buy direct from the manufacturer. Now, in total, Gordon made around 15 purchases from 5 different websites. Gordon has now informed me he is now poor. He does love a good moan. Back to the point, buy direct from the manufacturer if you can, especially on the main components like the frame and the wheels. Firstly, talk to them and see how they treat a potential customer like you. When you are spending top dollar, having a little human interaction and knowing you can contact them if needed is super helpful. It also doesn't make me feel like I'm in 2056 where everything is automated.
I make the robots seem more human.
Parts take time to arrive. For Gordon, the frame took around 5 weeks with a saucy custom paint job.
Very saucy.
All the parts that he ordered from AliExpress took around 15 days to arrive, but he did select items specifically that had the 15-day delivery option. But if he ordered everything on the same day, within 36 days, all the parts would have been on his doorstep. Look for deals and haggle. Now, while the cost is already pretty low or pretty cheap, Gordon does love a good bargain. So why not try and hunt one down? Now, on AliExpress, it's similar to Amazon, but it's not quite Amazon. There are often multiple listings for the same product with different prices and delivery, etc. Which is why Gordon spent hours and hours looking for the best possible deals. Check your gearing. Now, this one is a little more technical, and I'm pretty sure most people will get to this hurdle when buying a group set for the first time. To cut a long story short, you have long and short cage derailleurs. Now, depending on the number of teeth you are going to have on your cassette will depend on what derailleur size you need. If we look at the Sensor Empire group set listing, which is what Gordon bought, then you will see the short cage derailleur can accommodate a max cassette size of 28 teeth. So the biggest cog can be a max of 28 teeth. The long cage can take up to a 34 tooth cassette. It's easy to order the wrong one, as not all the listings will automatically choose the correct derailleur based on the cassette that you choose. Gordon is a nerd at heart and loves research, so the one that he ordered was spot on. A long cage derailleur with a 32 tooth cassette. Bottom bracket compatibility. Now the bottom bracket is another part of the frame that will impact the group set that works with your bike. Now look on the manufacturer's website to check what frame has what bottom bracket. Gordon's frame had a BB86 press fit bottom bracket, so he made sure that the cranks that he purchased had a press fit BB86 bottom bracket. Frame check. Now when the frame actually arrives, you should give it an inspection. I would suggest doing this with any frame, to be honest, no matter where you bought it for. If the clear coat is over the decals, for example, how is the paint job overall, especially in places like where you mount the calipers and where the derailleur hanger goes. How do the bearings fit in the headset? Just a general check to make sure you got what you ordered. Nothing more, nothing less.
That's perfect. That's perfect.
The order of events. What are you going to do first, and how everything works together? There is nothing worse than doing something for an hour only to realize you actually needed to do steps A, B, and C beforehand. Now mistakes are part of learning, and I think Gordon has learned a lot from his build, which tells you a lot about the number of mistakes he made, but having an order of events did reduce the amount of mistakes that were made overall. Now on to building the bike, and this is where Gordon, and likely you if you're in the same position, will realize that all the videos you watch make it look super easy. In reality, you'll be buying tools, searching for YouTube for solutions, and listening to that Park Tools guy for an unhealthy amount of time in a single week.
You did what? No, it doesn't work like that.
But like Gordon, when completed, you'll feel like you've built the most incredible, beautiful machine known to man. A vernier or vernier caliper, I'm not sure how to pronounce it. I would get yourself one of these. Now get a digital one as well, as this will allow you to measure things accurately. You can roughly check things like the bottom bracket and the headset. Just use your vernier caliper to do that. Good tools are going to make all the difference, and they are going to up the cost of the build as well. Now Gordon is obsessive and has more tools than the Snap-on factory, so he only needed to purchase a few tools. But if you are starting from nothing, it's going to add up really quickly. Now as a general rule of thumb with tools, buy quality, buy once, and buy tools as you need them, and build up your collection over time. Having a good work stand makes all the difference, and be sure to clamp your beloved frame gently. The top tube is not as strong as a seat post, so people like to clamp it on the seat post. Compressionless cables. If you opt to go for cable actuated brakes and gears, and they are routed through the bars and the frame, be ready to wrestle them, as did Gordon for many hours. Because of the tight turns in the frame, you need compressionless housing so you don't pinch the inner cable. Choose the path of least resistance, where the cables have the fewest bends. And while the solution is simple, use hydraulic brakes and wireless gears, that isn't really a solution because the price goes through the roof. Gordon paid £240 for his whole group set, but if this was hydraulic and wireless, that would be more like £1,000. When buying a Chinese carbon, the forks, the stem will likely be carbon. So working with carbon has its benefits, but there are also some things to consider.
It's not all fun and games.
When clamping carbon onto carbon, generally you only clamp to around 6 Newton meters. This is why you need a torque wrench so you don't over tighten components and crush the carbon part. Use carbon grip where carbon is gripping carbon, for example on the seat post. When cutting carbon, use water to suppress the carbon dust and wear protective masks so you don't get any in your lungs. Research. Now people like myself create videos to help people like you and Gordon build your own bikes and save thousands of pounds in the process. Now use the World Wide Web as a resource to teach yourself. It's free, and you can start by watching this video where Gordon built his own road bike. See everything that we have spoken about put into a real life scenario. He makes quite a few mistakes, which is entertaining for you, but not so fun for him.